Welcome, manufacturing world. This is another episode of Shop Matters, sponsored by Okuma America. Today, I'm blessed enough to have one of our valued partners, Sandvik, in the booth with us. Chris Peluso and Freddie Wilson are two very important resources that we lean on all the time to find ultimate solutions for our customers. So, Chris, why don't you give us a little background and introduction?
So I've been in the manufacturing world 15 years, give or take. Started as an Okuma customer about 10 years ago. And then after 2 years of being a customer, I decided to work for Okuma for about 6 years. And now I've been with Sandvik for 2.
Excellent. So you've operated Okuma machines, you've worked at Okuma, now you work for one of our partner companies. What's the biggest takeaway about Okuma's that keeps bringing you back to support them and help sell them?
Convenience and support are probably the two biggest things that you can find in an Okuma, right? I mean, obviously the iron is awesome. It's fantastic. It's been around for 120 some years, right? It's not going anywhere anytime soon, but the Okuma support, right? And now I get to give back to that by being a support member and a partner as a technology type.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, the iron, Okuma's been around 125 years, so you were close, but it's here to stay. We always see the old green machines still running and still making parts within tolerance, which is one of the things I love about walking into a customer's facility is just the machines last forever. And they definitely do that when they have great support companies and great support partners such as Sandvik to help that application just run like a sewing machine. So with that said, Freddie, why don't you give us a brief introduction about yourself?
Okay. I've been with Sandvik for 23 years. I've been in manufacturing for close to 40, just over right about 40. I as well, was an applications engineer for Okuma back in 95, 96, and then started in 97 the Okuma Automotive Institute with Darrell Walter Pracing way back in the day. And then in 2000 started with Sandvik. So yeah, it's I have the same blood in me, the Okuma blood, and I always thought it was really cool, the story that was told from IMTS about when the power went out, that all the customers, when the power came back up in McCormick Center, that Okuma's booth was the first up and running, and everybody was like, what's going on? And it was because of the control intertwined, if you will, with the machine, that nobody had ever really looked at that as a selling point. And at that time, it became a selling point, and it was pretty interesting to watch that at that time.
Wow, that's a great story. So the machines were the first ones back up and
there's
running.
No rehoming.
Yeah, there's no rehoming. And then, at the end of the day, when you go into shops, they're the last ones running out of all of our competitors before they're decommissioned. So that's a great story. And, I think one thing I just heard is we have over 50 years of experience sitting across from the table. So I want to jump in to some of the things Sandvik is working on, maybe Okuma specific, and you guys can just give a little more detail around how these projects are beneficial to our audience and end users, and give some of the technical details behind how they're working in the marketplace. So I want to jump into the MR80 milling cutter first and foremost. So why don't you let our audience know what that is and how it can be beneficial to them?
Certainly. We do have metric and inch products in that. The newest technology that came coupled with the MR80 was the locking shim protection of the insert. It's multifaceted, and it brings more security to the seat itself and the security of the insert itself, and also the positioning of itself to where you can now clock around multifacets. Instead of a 4 index, you can have multiple indexes. So you get more.
It being a round insert, it's kind of clever because it's double-sided.
Right.
Most round inserts are railed positive. Or have flats. Yeah, positive.
Or positive instead of neutral.
And you're only getting one side out of the insert. But because they put the locating mechanism on the inside of the insert, now you can actually flip it over and get twice as much.
Yeah.
So really you're getting 2 times the life of this product.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get double the insert usage, yes. So similar to we had the 300s, we've had 200s in the past. They were both positive geometry, where this is a neutral style insert, so you get double sides. Yes.
Excellent. And have our customers, obviously they've been using this product. What are some of the reviews and the feedback that you've received from our customer base?
Yeah, I think it's been good.
Yeah.
I've had just a few projects with it. The insert geometry with it is a rake, and it's a negative positive positioning of the insert, so you get good chip evacuation due to the way the inclination angle is of the insert. So you expel the chip more so. Instead of drawing it internally, you're pitching it to the external, and more of a slicing mechanism comes from the negative side to the positive geometry of the chip breaker. And then the new grade technology has been come along with that as well.
Wow. Yeah, that's a great piece of advice. I mean, as everybody is moving towards automation and lights out manufacturing, I think chip evacuation is going to be more important than ever, because you don't have a physical body in front of that machine to monitor that. So that's definitely a huge benefit.
And one other point, it is internal, and it's not just through coolant. It's actually where we have our coolant through turning tools, as now we're applying more to the milling tools, that there's not just a port, it's actually a nozzle. So you're precisely pointing the coolant to where it needs to be at the cutting point, the temperature point.
Right, so you can dictate exactly where that coolant needs to go to benefit the chip evacuation and the cutting.
Yeah, it's directed, right? So
Yeah.
it's thought about, right? It's not just there as a flood or a flush.
Right, it's an intentional engineered design.
Yes.
Wow, that's awesome. So that's on the milling cutter. Let's talk a little bit about Y-axis turning. I mean, I know this is another area that you guys are focused heavily on. You've done a lot of design, you've done a lot of development, and we've seen some huge dividends because of all this. So how is this helping our end users?
Well, we were the end user at first, right? Yep. Y-axis parting actually came from call it a Sandvik Okuma partnership, right? We were developing silent tools, and they're always parting them off. So they're looking at ways to improve that. That's where Y-axis parting was born. Where was it? What facility do you recall?
In Sandviken.
They were running them on Okumas, producing silent bars, and realized that when they direct the forces of cutting and directly back into the spindle, like into a turret, they could increase feed rates 2 to 3 times.
Yep,
right?
That's great news.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that every end user is always looking to do if it doesn't disrupt something else in their process. So
certainly if it's a bar feed application, right? And you just think about how many little slugs are you chopping off. If you can do them twice as fast or 3 times as fast, I mean, it's huge.
Yeah, so that's just increasing the production rate.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. It's a minimum of the two. And we're now developing new geometry to handle higher feed rates, because we're exceeding the chip breakers of our existing product line. That was just parting inserts that we brought over to the Y-axis parting. So now we're having to catch up to what was done with the Y-axis capability.
Understood.
You think back in the day with piston grooves and large piston grooves, we used to have parting tools and grooving tools that you would put a big dampening device in. And those were traditional. You would have like triple the depth of the blade itself. So then why not just change the position? So it was so simple, and so many people look at it and they still don't get it until they watch it run.
Right. Well, sometimes
really
the simplest things make the biggest difference, right? Yeah. And I want to touch back on something that you mentioned. You said this was actually developed and initially worked on in Sweden. And then obviously Sandvik has a presence in the Americas. You have a partnership with Okuma America. You're a member of the Partners in Technology program. So just the abundance of resources that go into supporting our local customers is really amazing. So, I just want you to touch on your experience with our Partners in Technology program and what that really means. I mean, Chris, you're in the facility every day almost. So
I'll be honest with you. It was one of the reasons why I looked to Okuma when I left. One, I liked the machines.
right.
But then when I started to investigate the machines, I liked the concept of putting everything there for the customer to see. Now that I'm on the support side of that facility, I bring customers in there, I don't know, every other month maybe, if not more, so that they can see everything that Okuma can provide, that Sandvik can provide, that some of the work holding and cam vendors can provide, right? It's a place where everybody, it's kind of like a mall, right? You can go get your shoes, you get your clothes, you get your snack, you get it all right there, right? I mean, that's the most important thing to it. Plus, it allows us to put things like this on our machines.
Yeah,
right?
100%. And then the time when you don't have customers in the facility, I'm sure that you're still in front of a machine tool with Okuma application engineers, and you guys are developing new products.
Yeah. We're certainly, we were there pushing things maybe a little too far last week.
Okay. Understood. Well, hey, that's
pride.
part of it.
Yeah.
You've got to hit the rev limiter before you can back off one notch, right? So,
Chris likes to hit the rev limiter.
well, that's a good thing. I think all of our customers, when it comes to production needs and demands, they like to hit the rev limiter too. They just don't want to blow up the engine for lack of a better comparison. So that's why we have that facility, so that we can test the limits, and then we're aware of those limits, and then back it off one notch.
And it really is a sandbox. I was there maybe a month or so ago doing tests because, like you said, customers can't break down production. So
Right.
we had a mutual customer. We said, we have an idea to benefit a process for you. Give us some parts, let us set them up, and we'll do a little process. And we were using a little LB, the 2500 there in the showroom. And they said, oh, it is going to work.
Right.
Let's do it.
Right.
And then they implemented in production probably about a month after what we were doing on your floor.
Wow, that's great. That's what we're looking for. I mean, at the end of the day, we have all these companies. Obviously, you fall in the tooling category, but we have work holding, we have coolant, productivity components, CAD/CAM software. To create the ultimate solution, it takes all of those, right? And we're just thankful that Sandvik's a part of the Partners in Technology program and has individuals like you in the building to support it, support our distributors, and support our end users like you do. So that's a big advantage. So speaking of the Partners in Technology facility, I was walking through there about a week ago, and I saw some skiving work being done. So can you talk a little bit about skiving, Sandvik's involvement in that process, the machines that you're working on, and what you're trying to develop and take it to the next level?
I'm gonna let Chris take that one. The one thing you was talking about as far as in the Okuma technology, we also have the U3000 in our facility in Mebane. So because of Chris moving from Okuma into the Sandvik world, yes, he has been heavily relied upon as our Okuma guy within our company, within Sandvik.
Right.
Sandvik Coromant, yes. And they ask him up quite often to Mebane to run the U3000, specifically when it comes to a skiving product.
Yeah,
That's for sure. That was his go-to.
I did actually install that machine in Mebane. It wasn't why I left to go work there, but I did. And one of the things I installed on there was a special touch setter that could actually pick up, or you could use to gauge a skiving cutter, right? We were working on a project for a large manufacturer out west that had to time the end resultant gear to two mounting holes and fixture within 2 thou true position. I think it was 0.017 degrees, right? Nothing, right? It had to be perfect. Right. So we had to pick that gear or the cutting tooth up every time, then run it through the part. It was difficult, to say the least. So the Okuma gauging cycles, it was a Rent-A-Shop probe, but integrated into the machine, right? It was all factory stuff that we put together. We were able to use the cycles for picking up the part, the tooth, and then programming the cutter right on the control. It was really the only machine that we could do that for. So in regards to skiving, yeah, it's been a major push, I'd say, from Sandvik for the last 5 years or so, because the machines are getting to the point where they are call them rigid enough, stiff enough, right? Power skiving is what, 100 years, conceptually, 100 plus years old,
Definitely.
right? It's just shaping, but at an angle, right? So it needs to be rigid. You know, you need a stiff machine, if that makes sense. It can't be a lightweight machine, but the major focus is really the Multis platform. Right. You got a horizontal machining center and a large lathe married in one beast. So it provides both power and accuracy that allows you to power skive with excellent results.
Right. So, I mean, you mentioned, we use the term skiving daily just because we're in the industry, but for end users that may not be familiar with skiving, you talked about how it was shaping at an angle. What exactly is happening in the cutting area of the machine, and when would our end users use this type of functionality?
So it's high-speed gear generation, is simply put. Primary benefit is internal gears. Right, shaping and broaching have been the major manufacturing methods for the last, few decades, where power skiving takes a very similar looking tool, tilts it at an angle, and then increases the RPM, right? It just, we're talking to like 1,000 RPM on the lathe spindle, right? Where typical hobby might be at, 150, and shaping is what? A decade of rotation.
Yes.
You're talking speed increases, 70% at least. Wow. Especially on internals. Externals, the benefit, it can be found in high production, but
versus traditional hobbing, it's close.
Yeah.
But the internal, and you were talking about the developing it. It was developed. Skiving was developed before there was a machine even capable of producing it. The concept was designed.
Right. So the concept's been around forever. I think recently it is gaining a lot of attention. Its popularity is increasing. The need for skiving is increasing as well. If somebody is interested or has a project related to gears, hobbing and or skiving, how can you help them? We have our partners in technology facility. We have machine tools. We have Multis. What would our end user need to do? Obviously, contact distribution and get all the key players, but what would happen after that, Chris?
One of two things, right? Either we would do a proof of concept, right? That's what we were working on in the partners facility the other day, where we've got something similar to the customer's gear form, and we're just going to show you how we would process a part just like it, because skiving cutters are unique to the gears they have to produce.
Right.
So we can do a proof of concept, which usually is fairly immediate because we've got some demo cutters, you've got some demo cutters, we got the knowledge and the machines, so that can happen fairly quick. Or, you can sit down with a designer and they design the tools for you. They'll be manufactured in some amount of time, and then we can do an actual test cut, right? It's a kind of a two-path approach.
Yeah, everything you just said, I translated into Okuma and Sandvik are pro sales or pro customer organizations, right? So we'll go through all the necessary steps, whether it's proof of concept to actually making chips on a machine tool, to figure out exactly what our customer needs, because skiving is a specific application, whether it comes to the gear itself or the tooling involved. It's great to have a partnership with Sandvik, and you just reiterated that this partnership's two-sided. It's the machine tool and Okuma applications engineers working with our partner companies like Sandvik to benefit our customers. So,
well, and one of these things about power skiving, y-axis turning, the kind of call them cutting edge manufacturing methods, is they require involvement of all parties.
Right.
You can't do this stuff in a vacuum. Just pick it up off the table and say, hey, I'm going to make it work. Right.
Right.
You need to call your machine tool apps guy. You need to call your tooling apps guy. You need to call your work holding apps guy. Say, hey, we got this project. We got this process. Hey, how's it all going to work together? Right. And you really need to do that from the beginning.
Yeah, I think another important thing to note, and you mentioned this earlier, but a lot of the individuals that are part of these projects, they have a wide range of skill sets. You mentioned you installed a Multis U3000 at the Mebane facility. You're also an application engineer by trade. At the end of the day, you're in sales and support for Sandvik. So 50 plus years of experience, and all of that goes into helping our customers.
Yeah, every day.
Every day.
Every day.
All right.
Focus.
Well, skiving is definitely a good topic. If our end users need any additional information, they can reach out to their distributor to arrange the proper meeting with Okuma and our partners, and we'll help them out. Now, in addition to that, I also wanted to hit on the Capto machine adaptive clamping units. This technology is here. It's in front of us. We know that it can add a lot of value. Why don't you explain exactly what that is and exactly how that technology is working within the machine tool?
Sure. It is a new Bluetooth technology for basically tracking the usage of a live unit, something that the industry has never had. And so when you come into the PM aspects of tracking all of your tooling when they come on and off the machines, it was next to impossible to track their usage over their lifespan or before they broke and they had to go out for remanufacturing, if you will. So this technology, we have the software and the Bluetooth technology tied directly into the live units, OD and ID, that can track the mapping of their usage, their torque, hours of usage, and it's helping a lot in the new ways of working with lights out kind of stuff. Yeah. Automation stuff, yes.
Absolutely. So Sandvik's helping keeping that green light on by predicting when tools are entering the end of their life so that you can take the machine down for 5 minutes, make that replacement instead of running into a catastrophe and have it down for 5 hours. So
catastrophic failures in a live unit like that can be very costly. And if you can eliminate that, yes, you will save money in the long run.
So through this Bluetooth technology, we're obviously measuring torque, as you mentioned. What other variables are being looked at to identify the end of life for these tools?
I'd say the predetermined lifespan from the manufacturer itself, as far as in oil, that is one critical thing, the grease, and then a predetermined point of the wear mechanism. Of how many hours do you want to map onto it? Do you want to run 20 hours, 50 hours of actual cut time? Do you want a percentage if you want to look at a load monitor? If you've got a heavy application, a milling application, you're going to probably cut that time in maybe 2/3. Different applications like that. If it's at a high speed, a low diameter drill that you're really spinning it, you're going through, the grease and needs to be changed out more often. And the bearings possibly as well.
Wow. Well, that's really awesome. New technology is always evolving. We're lucky we have our Partners in Technology facility to learn about it and to have the ultimate machine tool playground. One thing we also have in that building currently is a P500 control. I think this just screams how Okuma is constantly evolving to meet our customer needs and develop and deliver the next best thing. And what I love about our partner, specifically Sandvik, is you guys are doing a lot of the same things. So just speak to me about how important innovation is and never getting complacent.
Well, I think you see that across the Sandvik board, because not only are we doing tool stuff, we're also doing machine monitoring services. Just like the clamping units are looking at the other elements that might be the hiccups in the manufacturing process, right? What else could go wrong? Because that's really what we're here to do is help you be successful making things, not provide you the coolest carbide or the neatest tools available.
Yeah, we were talking about the different things for the skiving. So we've purchased a company for that software,
right,
to help us develop that. We're thinking about the time studies. So if you don't have a cutter on the shelf that you can do, you can actually give a customer, hey, here's going to be your cycle time for this type of cutter. And so with the purchase of that's helped us. So yeah, over my 23 years, it's definitely expanded the Sandvik Coromant brand in what they want to get involved with the customer. And ultimately, the site's always been very clear to support and dedicate themselves to ourselves, to the customer.
Yeah,
to
100%.
produce. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
you're focused on always evolving, continuous improvement, being the best that you can be within other tooling manufacturers. You mentioned the Sandvik Coromant brand. How has that changed and evolved in the past 12 months?
3 months
Completely.
maybe.
Yeah. From going, so we call it monochrome, I guess now, where it was predominantly over my time. It started
red
with
and
blue, and that was the Sandvik parent company, and then Coromant, which we've always been Coromant.
Correct.
So it's never not been Coromant. Sandvik Metals, things like that were the original companies, and then Coromant was developed. So they had to separate the carbide, the insert manufacturing facility, separate from the steel manufacturing. So that started Coromant. So we've been 80 plus years now in the States of here in the United States as Coromant. Over my span, we've celebrated Sandvik as a whole over 150 years. But with the new, I think they really wanted to step us away even more. So now for the very first time in my span, the Coromant the name is actually larger in the logo than the Sandvik name. Right. They want Coromant to take front and center. There's all the other companies that Sandvik on that they are continuously purchasing, from high-speed steel to software to so many companies. I never thought I would see the day that a carbide company, and I don't know if any other carbide company is as diverse as we are. That's for sure.
Yeah, you guys are definitely acquiring companies.
We kept feeling when we would go and customers drive a lot of our innovation. They request, hey, we need you to get into skiving. Hey, we need a silent bar. Hey, we need this. They start saying, we need a solution for this. We kept feeling anytime we feel like we get handcuffs put on, we buy what we need to help develop it. And obviously that's been software. That's been a multitude of things over the years to help develop it. So,
well, that's a great explanation, Freddie. You know, two things that our customers will get to see in 2024 is the P500 control, which is exciting. A new logo for our Partners in Technology program that just went through a rebranding strategy. And also at IMTS 2024, you'll probably have a different logo on your shirt to represent your new rebranding strategy. So
Yes,
a lot to look forward to.
We may have the yellow coats, and they would be rebranded too.
Yeah.
The yellow coats. Everybody knows the yellow coats.
It's a slow trend. It'll take a period of time because the name has been around for so long. It will take a period of time. They plan, I think, a 3 maybe plus, to really
it takes
out
time.
with the old and in with the new, but it takes time.
Yeah, we'll see the digital stuff change first, then some of the physical stuff.
Yeah.
But I think the message is that Sandvik is investing. They're moving forward along with Okuma. And the best is yet to come. So Freddie and Chris, thank you guys so much for joining me in the booth today. This is another episode of Shop Matters, sponsored by Okuma America, and I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you, Mike. Enjoy it.
Thank you.